Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, and my friends, today we have a very special character. He might look all new. His name is Krohnen, but in reality, he's definitely a blast from the past. He was someone we always thought could never come back. So he is back under a new name, a bit of a new look, but in reality, he is the classic character K49. From the King of Fighters 2001 and 2002, and he's got a pretty complicated background. So we're going to get into all that. And yes, naturally, we're going to break down the trailer and everything first and a lot of his core gameplay. But first, we have to talk about the lore, the background, both of the character itself, and why the character had to go away for a long time. So the character K49 is a reference. Lots of fighting game characters are references. You know, King of Fighters has quite a few. Like Benny Maru is definitely a reference to Polnareff from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Other fighting games, even someone as famous as M. Bison, who definitely eclipses the character he's a reference from, but he's a character from Riki-Oh. That is who M. Bison is based off of. Now, K49 is very much based off of Tetsuo of Akira fame. He had the same voice actor. He has the same moves. A lot of the things he does, very signature moves. You'll see like the Tekken Flesh from Akira. Yeah, K49 can do all that kind of stuff. All of his move names are direct quotes from the movie Akira. His look is more than a passing reference to Akira. And it kind of got to the point where this is less, just an homage or reference and more just potentially just a straight ripoff, honestly. And for these crimes, this is why K49 has a very small time in the world of King of Fighters. He was unceremoniously removed from the King of Fighters. It's not that they just stopped putting him in the games, it's that he never existed to begin with. He was expunged from the records. Now, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about this, but honestly, the simplest answer to me is the straightforward one. Once again, he just kind of is past homage territory and more into ripoff territory, so fearing any potential legal reprisal, he was just removed from everything. And yeah, he's back now, but the look is different. A lot of the moves are different. He is very certainly now a legally distinct separate entity. Don't get it confused. Krohnen is absolutely K49, 100%. But now he gets to breathe free air yet again. So that's a really quick Cliff's Notes of the controversy of K49. So now, Krohnen, I guess he's reintroduced into the canon, so what exactly is his story to begin with? Well, that all goes back to the Nest saga. So Nest is a very naughty organization, lots of criminal activity, and for the purposes of K49, let's talk about the Clone Wars. So we have Kyo, and Kyo, up until the Nest saga, was the protagonist of the King of Fighters franchise. And here we are, the Nest cartel thinks, well, this certainly is some interesting powers. How about we take it for ourselves? Thus beginning the program that just clones literally thousands of clones of Kyo. And K-Dash, the protagonist of the Nest saga, is infused with the Kyo DNA, which is also what helps give him his powers, because he also has the flame powers like Kyo does. Now, K49 is very literally the 9,999th Kyo clone. As such, he's branded the strongest of all of them, and the thing is, he's a little unstable. In certain aspects, he's definitely very strong. Like, he has his ability to shape his body, right? He can turn his arms into blades and drills, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the other Kyo clones definitely can't do that. He has limited psychic abilities. His ability to control the actual flames is suspect at times, though. So despite being labeled the perfect Kyo clone, he's a little far from it. Now, showing up in the King of Fighters 2001, which is the end of the Nest saga, his purpose along with the Nest team, which is himself, Angel, and Foxy and Kula, they're there to ruin K-Dash's day. They're out to get him. Thing is, K49 and Angel, they get along great. The other two, not so much. So in the canonical ending of the King of Fighters 2001, this is the K-Dash team ending, Angel and K49, they kill Foxy straight up. They are not good guys. They are bad people. And Kula basically has to run for the hills. Despite being on the same team, K49 considers Kula much the same as K-Dash and wants to kill her. So you could definitely say there's bad blood between these characters. The only thing that saves Foxy is K49 being written out of the timeline. So when he got taken out of the canon of the game, all of a sudden she came back to life, as if it never happened to begin with. And that's kind of the big thing. Like at the end of King of Fighters 2001, after Ness is seemingly destroyed, Angel and K49, they ride off into the sunset on a motorcycle, going to do whatever they're going to do together. And then come King of Fighters 14, because that's the first time Angel canonically appears since 2001 as well. She's a solo act because K49 never existed, right? So she kind of just witnessed Ness blow up by itself. And as for any animosity with Kula, may or may never have happened. It puts us in a bit of an odd spot. Like, realistically, K49 never accomplished much in his short time as a canonical character. He basically hates K-Dash, he wants to kill him, he wound up killing Foxy and made an enemy out of Kula, and that's really about it before he got plucked out of the timeline. Now, very obviously enough, he's getting dumped back into the timeline with a new name, Krohnen, yes, and a new look, but let's infer what we can out of all of this. One, the look itself. He's basically dressed like he's trying not to be recognized. He's grown his hair out, wearing large goggles seemingly to hide his facial scar, and just dressed in a way to not look like his old self. Stuff like the big Tetsuo flesh attack, no, it's all tech now, so legally distinct, don't worry about that. We're not touching it with a 10-foot pole. To get really into the weeds here, he has the Ness symbol on his belt buckle, and it's seemingly scratched all up like with a knife or something, so he definitely has nothing to do with Ness anymore. So perhaps part of his new story is before the Ness organization fell apart, he very consciously left the organization to strike it out on his own, perhaps with Angel as well. Going by the trailer, he still definitely hates K-Dash, so it's not going to be one of those things where he's just totally reformed and is a good guy. And if he still hates K-Dash, there's probably a good chance he does not care for Kula either. He's probably been on the run for a good while. If you take a good look at his hand, you can see the blue paint is flaking off big time. So suggesting, it's in disrepair. Hasn't had the chance to get it looked at or fixed or whatever. All the Ness adjacent characters have this style of gauntlet. So Kula, K-Dash, and K49 himself, they all have this gauntlet. And K-Dash and Kula, if Kula's in the game, I'm sure look nice and pristine and beautiful, right? K-Dash has got a whole new model, looks a bit different now. But for K49, he's got the same old broken mess. Just kind of further hitting home, maybe he hasn't had the best life since KOF 2001. Although some upside in that apparently his control of the flames is getting better with time, as he had some difficulty, could conjure flame, but not as good as Kyo or K-Dash, and now seemingly a move that used to just shoot dust before now shoots flames. Now, as for the gameplay, so K49/Krohnen was very much a heavy on the poke/rushdown style of character. He has no real full screen control, he has no proper fireball. The move where he can slam the dust in the air, which now slams fire in the air in King of Fighters 15, it could destroy fireballs, but it wasn't like a zoning style of move, right? The thing is, he had these drills. This is stand heavy punch, this is forward light punch, this is a command normal, his jumping heavy and lights. They are all multi-hit, very easy to hit confirm for the ones that are able to hit confirm in the combos. They eat up a lot of space, a lot of real estate. They're all really, really good normals. For specials, he had the short range projectile, he has a dragon punch style of move. He could leap forward with the flames. That seemingly has changed in King of Fighters 15. Some fun gimmicks like his close heavy kick, his close D, is actually an overhead. So you actually have to block that standing. And he was a pretzel character. So the infamously difficult Raging Storm motion, down, back, half circle back, down, forward, and whatever button. Those were his supers. So he can create like a giant shield energy to beat you up with. Or shoot you with a gun. This version is the censored version, so no gun. A lot of versions of a lot of KOFs are censored for Americans. That's how things were back in the day. And I guess we gotta talk Nameless. So in King of Fighters 2002 Unlimited Match, we have Nameless, who basically exists to repurpose the moveset of K49. So he's a different character. Once again, they were so scared of the character they removed him from the timeline, but they wanted to keep the moveset in the game, right? So this is how they did it. So they made Nameless has a lot of the moveset. Nameless has some of his own stuff though, so they are not fully carbon copies of each other. So there is some distinct values between both. But Nameless was basically created to keep the majority of the K49 moveset in the King of Fighters. He effectively has no story, as King of Fighters 2002 is not a canonical game. He's just there to keep the moveset alive. Now, let's break down the trailer itself. First off here, we get a just grand look at Krohnen's new look. It is definitely identifiably K49, although, well, different. The color scheme's intact, so that's one of the biggest things, is even with the longer hair, different jacket, torn cloak, all that kind of stuff, you can still definitely tell it's him. Although just seemingly doing his damn best to make sure nobody actually recognizes him. With the hair grown out, the goggles to hide his facial scars, all that kind of stuff. A man of mystery. A bunch of normals to start. That's standing light punch. This here is close heavy punch. This is standing heavy punch. Pretty decent range. Also has multiple hits. Builds meter pretty good. Next up, we got jumping light punch and jumping heavy punch. These are some of his best normals. They are amazing normals. They are active all the way to the ground, meaning if you hit it on the way up, it's still there at the top, it's still there at the bottom. So it just controls all that space all the time. Good hitboxes as well, and thanks to the multi-hit status, very, very, very easy to hit confirm into your combos. Just really, really good and strong all around. Next, we get his standing power attack, which always wall splats in King of Fighters 15. This is an all-new animation for his back throw. Some sort of taunt or round win animation. His quarter circle forward punch short range fireball. So now, well, it shoots actual fire instead of a cloud of dust. Also, having never existed in a game with EX moves before, we see this is the EX move. And it causes a crumple state, so he's definitely allowed to combo after the fact. His quarter circle back kick move seemingly changed a bit here. Before, he would leap forward and shoot some flames upwards. Now he leaps forward and uses his shape-shifting ability to create a sword arm and slap the enemy with it. Also at a downwards arc, so before the move kind of shot with an upwards arc while moving forward. As we'll see later on in the trailer as well, seemingly the move has changed for the better. His uppercut style move, so Dragon Punch, Motion, and Punch, so seems to have a lot more flames than it did before. Now, going back to the fact that he's never existed in a game before that had EX moves, we have EX quarter circle back and kick. And he launches forward a pretty respectable amount. On top of this now, the hit also causes a ground bounce, which means assuredly he's going to have some combo potential from it. So this all together, this is like a good screw neutral kind of move. If you're willing to spend the bar, screw it, just go for it and see if it works. Going from that, here's the big love-in from K-Dash to Krohnen. So Krohnen definitely does not like K-Dash, and K-Dash seemingly remembering Krohnen / K49 also doesn't care for him at all either. Krohnen still considers himself top dog, saying he's a friggin' failure. So there's definitely some pride still there in him. Next up, we get our first taste at some supers. So this is a super where Krohnen can just turn his arm into a frickin' gun. So Honor, he's not too concerned about that. So multiple shots, I have to assume the motion is more regular now. As mentioned earlier in the video, his supers had the pretzel motions, which are infamously difficult, right? So in King of Fighters 14, Geese, the progenitor of the pretzel motion with the Raging Storm, he no longer has that motion. So I have to assume Krohnen's motions will be a bit more regular. Here we see Crouch Heavy Punch going into his level 2, just big flame super. Bread and butter combo action, so Crouch Light Kick, Crouch Light Punch into forward A, his advancing drill. Quarter circle back special here. You can see you get a combo on regular hit, Crouch Light Punch, Stand Light Kick into EX, quarter circle forward flame. That crumples, run forward, EX uppercut. And then we get another follow-up with a light uppercut just to end off. Another fun sequence here. So close heavy punch into EX, quarter circle forward flame. So that's a crumple stance. Now EX, quarter circle back leaping special, which now ground bounces into an uppercut and canceling the uppercut into the level 1 version of the uppercut special. And in our finale, so we see here Blue Max just going right into it, close heavy punch, uppercut, level 1 uppercut super, now level 2 gun super, seemingly held. It's either that or the level 1 version does multiple shots, but the level 2 version only does one shot, which seems a bit backwards, but I guess time will tell. Going into our big level 3 climax. Hey, it's the big Tetsuo arm, except it's all tech now, so no, don't sue us. You can't sue us. It's legally distinct. Also, this hit OTG off the ground from all the way from the full screen. So if it can pick up enemies from full screen from across the screen, man, it's going to have a lot of utility as a combo ender. So at 3 bars, maybe Anchor Krohnen is the way to go. And that's the Krohnen trailer, and honestly, that leaves us with, well, a lot of mysteries. Who's he teamed up with? There is no team complete at the end of this one, which means he has to be teamed up with Angel, which makes sense, because in his only other real canonical appearance, that was his teammate, which means we have 3 characters left, and each one of those 3 characters has to be the final character of one of the 3 teams. Ash Crimson team feels like Elizabeth is a pretty easy bet. Liz and Kukri are the whole reason that Ash Crimson is back in King of Fighters 15, as they're the ones who went looking for him in 14. For the K-Dash team, so K-Dash Whip makes sense, and then, well, either it's the stalwarts of the K-Dash team, Maxima or Kula. Now, either one would make perfect sense, so who really knows, but then if we take Kula, she was also a Ness team member, so technically she could go with Krohnen and Angel. Only issue being she should absolutely hate both of their guts, and they should both want to kill her, unless part of the Krohnen rebirth is we're forgetting that stuff ever really happened. And instead of being murderous lapdogs for Ness, no, Krohnen and Angel, they were always against Ness for whatever reason. Don't question it too hard. We're just going to rewrite the story. So who really knows, but we're entering the final stretch, and later this weekend, we have the King of Fighters Open Beta Test number 2, so go and try that out. I'm sure it'll be a good one. Otherwise, my friends, that's it. That's what we know for now, and we'll have some very interesting things happening in the near future. That said, we're at the end of the video, so thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some King of Fighters.